Hi there, guys. Vinny Chopra back again with Apartment Syndication Made Easy. Positivity brings profitability. And now also Senior Living Made Easy, Investing Made Easy, third book also. I hope you're liking the content. We got a great friend. Andrew Keel is here in the house, and we're going to hang around. And we were just reminiscing, my few years back, Dylan Marma, who is a common friend with Andrew also, who came into my academy, and he got so good. I just feel just like a brother, younger brother to me. And we did so many great things, and he's done amazingly well in mobile home parks and funds and things like that. So Andrew, welcome. And please tell us a little bit about you and how you got into where you are now. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Vinny. I'm an avid listener and a huge fan. Yeah, back in 2015, I was working my W-2 job as a sales manager. And on the side, I started flipping a few houses. Every year I do maybe 4 or 5 houses on the side. And through my marketing, I was also wholesaling and sending out letters and doing bandit signs and the whole wholesaling hustle.
Yep.
And through that, I got a deal on 2 individual mobile homes about an hour away from where I lived in Ocala, Florida, is where these homes were located.
Yep.
I live in Orlando. And I got a deal. The guy was like, hey, I just want to get out of these. I have the titles. Come get them, $1,100 a piece, and you can have them. And I didn't know anything about manufactured housing. I didn't know anything about commercial real estate. I just got in the car. I went up there. I paid the guy the money because I knew it had to cost more than $2,200 to build these 2, homes. They had vinyl sided and shingle roofs. And so I bought these 2 homes, came back home and got on YouTube and typed in how to make money with mobile homes. And I found this guy who had a YouTube course. His name was Lonnie Scruggs. And he taught this course, Deals on Wheels, about buying mobile homes and then selling them on contract. So I did that with these first 2 deals. And it was like, this is awesome. I'm creating this mailbox money. So I did 19 more of those Lonnie deals, and then met a park owner who brought me under his wing and taught me, syndication and how to pool together a group of investors to actually buy the whole mobile home park and not just the individual trailers. So that changed my life. Bought my first community in 2017. And now we own 40 mobile home communities as of last week and over 2,500 lots. So it's just been, we're insanely blessed, so lucky and fortunate to have, met some great people and have been mentored by people like yourself.
Oh, it's so exciting to see the progress in such a short period of time, Andrew. So let me take you back. I mean, as you were shifting from wholesaling to mobile homes, what were some of the factors that impeded you, or you had to say no to it, or what kind of hardships you went through? Let's just take it back over there, because many people would like to do, and there is huge market. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was so many pitfalls and learning experiences and mistakes that I made, but I think initially, flipping houses was like, hey, I had a big closing and then I would go a few months with no income. So I wanted something more consistent. And with the individual homes, I would buy them, fix them up and sell them on contract. And I was able to build up, I think it was like $4,000 a month, which at the time covered all of my expenses. It was just my wife and I. And, when my expenses were covered, that's when I was able to say, you know what, I'm going to stop flipping entirely. And I'm going to go 100% in on mobile home park investing and commercial real estate because of the tax benefits and the scalability and financing available. So that point where I had my monthly expenses covered was the most important, because without that, I didn't have that safety net.
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of time people say, can I just shift it right away? And I tell them, no. You got your W-2 or side gigs or whatever. You got to take care of the shelter, have some money, emergency money and all. Then you dig into it. So that's fabulous.
That's right.
So how did you learn quickly then financing, was there a problem? Or give us some like 101 course. If we were to buy a mobile home park, I think my audience might really enjoy that, and they might be thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, with mobile home parks, it's very unique, right? It's like the only commercial real estate asset class where there's fewer and fewer of them every year,
Yep.
because a lot of mobile home parks get redeveloped or
Yep.
torn down, and then they build apartments on them, right? Because it has that multifamily zoning.
Yeah.
So there's fewer mobile home parks every year than the year before, and it's really hard to get zoning approved to get a new mobile home park built because of NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. No one wants to live next to a mobile home park. And that stigma is still really strong today,
Mhm.
even though we need desperately affordable housing
Yeah.
across the country.
Yeah.
So there's some good supply and demand, aspects, right? Where demand is really high for our product, the affordability of everything.
Yeah.
And then the supply is shrinking, right? So you have that, but then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the multifamily lenders for
Yeah.
apartments, they also lend in manufactured housing. So
Yeah.
there's some really nice opportunities to create some good returns. But I would say, circling back to those really interested in like buying their own park,
Mm.
due diligence is so important. And I partnered with someone initially that had, more of a balance sheet that could get qualified for the financing needed.
Mhm. For sure. Is it very similar to like 70/30 LTV, or it's 65/35 or 60/40, or how does
Yeah,
it work?
you can get 75% loan to value, pretty easily through like a local bank, local
Mhm.
regional lender, or even when on bigger properties, go to the agency lenders or even CMBS.
Oh, wonderful. How about insurance? I know insurance is really cutting into big times in multifamily everywhere now in commercial sector. How about mobile home parks? The residents, do they have to have their renters insurance? And you have to insure what structure, right?
Yeah, so since we don't own the homes, we just
Yeah,
own the dirt
that's what I
underneath of
thought.
them.
Yeah.
We don't have to insure the individual homes,
Hmm.
but we'll still have general liability insurance and the insurance that's required by our lender. But we also carry loss of business in business income
Hmm.
insurance, typically for at least 12 months to cover in case of a catastrophic event, tornado, something like that. We would still be able to cover our liabilities. We'll have those, but we don't buy in coastal areas. We don't own any in Florida. We're buying in the boring Midwest, these secondary markets like your Des Moines, Iowas, your Sioux Falls, South Dakotas, your Indianapolis, Indianas. Those are the markets we target. We've just found them to be great cash flow markets, and a lot of mom and pop owners that were able to buy these assets and add a ton of value really quickly.
For sure, for sure. And I was told, I think I didn't really dig into it that much, but they are very mom and pop, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
old owners who have had them for years and years and years, and they're retiring or, transitioning and things like that. So how do you find them? Are there certain brokers who really specialize in that? All that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Somewhere between 60 to 70% of manufactured housing communities are owned by mom and pops, meaning that they own only one or two communities. Where
Mhm.
if you look at, some other asset classes, it's ran by professional operators that, own multiple assets,
Mhm.
similar to yourself. Where within mobile home parks, we get the majority of our deals, probably 90% of them, through cold calling. So we made over 250,000 cold calls last year,
Wow.
to mobile home parks and self-storage facilities, calling owners directly, cultivating relationships. We have a cold calling team and a data team that skip traces and goes direct to the owner.
Yeah.
We also mail out letters, and that's how we're able to get in front of mom and pops and build those relationships.
Wow, no wonder, no wonder in just such a short period of time, you have built such a great portfolio and you are getting to the
Thank you.
root, the sellers. I always believe the best way to buy is from the seller's listing broker or the seller itself, because you can really
Yeah,
see what their motivation is about and everything. Fabulous,
totally.
fabulous. So as the quantity is decreasing, so what do you think? Like, what's the runway? like I'm pivoted into senior assisted living, hospitality and all, where the runway is huge, right?
Yeah.
It's just growth and so much shortage of housing in senior and so forth. In the mobile home or manufactured homes, how could we pivot? Is there a pivoting point where we don't really change the whole perfect, but maybe put more manufactured homes and or pads, or even add other, I'm thinking about RV parkings come to my mind,
Mhm.
where we could increase the NOI that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. How could we increase the NOI in a mobile home park, and what
Mhm.
does that look like, right? And how can we get creative to really change that dynamic and find these value add opportunities that are so juicy when it comes to good returns, right? And in mobile home parks, that's what's kind of crazy, is because it's kind of boring. It's kind of simple. It's like, hey, here's a mobile home park that's 100 lots. It's a mom and pop owner that's owned it for 30 years. There's only 70 occupied, but they own it free and clear. They're still making a ton of money, and they really don't have the effort like they once did to infill and fill those vacant lots. Or
Mhm.
even, we just bought a community that had 6 vacant homes, and it was a lot rent market where lot rent was $450 a month. So that vacant lot, or that vacant home that only needed $4,000 or $5,000 to rehab and get sold, was what was worth like $45,000 if they had got that occupied upon sale. But
Yeah,
they're just older. They're these baby boomers, which you're very familiar with your senior living facilities.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that is the opportunity, right? There's something like 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day right now, and for the
Yes.
next 10 years or so. So there's just a
Mhm.
ton of opportunity in for in any business, really, passing it on to the next generation.
Totally, totally. And then with the manufactured housing, amenities have gotten better. The quality of
Mm.
construction and everything, and you can have the same, electrical and plumbing and everything very lavish. I've seen some very, very beautiful communities, and also they're movable also, which is on top of it. No, that's fantastic. I think this is, just so good market. How can people, let me ask you another question. If somebody wants to decide today, where would they go? What websites they can go to? Or do they have to do the route that you took, your company's taking? Or can they do it at a simpler fashion?
Yeah, great question. I think it's really important you get educated on, the asset class. And there's a couple places. The best education that you could get right now is through something called the Mobile Home University, MHU Bootcamp. It's like a
Okay.
3-day boot camp. There's a guy named Frank Rolfe, who's a very prominent
Oh, yeah.
educator
Frank
in the
Rolf, I
space.
know him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and him and Dave Reynolds have this boot camp that is a fantastic way. I've gone 4 times, and they
Oh,
literally tour actual mobile home parks and show you, the utility infrastructure and what to look for, how to tell if a home is a 1970s vintage or a 1980s or 1990s. And that's really important when it comes to valuing a community and knowing how to offer. So I would definitely attend the MHU boot camp. That would be I have a podcast that's called the Passive Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. And I interview other mobile home park operators.
oh,
And
beautiful.
like 95% of the operators that I've interviewed have all started at this MHU boot camp, getting
Oh,
educated,
wow.
because it's really, really important to get educated on the utility infrastructure, because that is the big dollar, items. It's what you're buying, right? We don't own the homes, we own the dirt and the utility
Yes.
infrastructure. And that's what you need to understand and really make sure you know what you're getting into.
Excellent, excellent, fabulous, fabulous. What maybe two, three more things come to your mind, or how does the attitude? You have to do certain shifts in attitude. I mean, like you said, a lot of times people feel that the lowest, rental market is there. Of course, they got there due to circumstance or whatever, but they are, bona fide residents, and they really keep their places nice and clean and everything. So what can you share with the audience to bring the excitement in this particular market, which is needing help, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, there is a stigma about it, right? And rightfully so, because there's some communities that these mom and pop owners have kind of let go. They
Mhm.
haven't reinvested like they needed to.
Mhm.
And, I think that's what's important to understand is when new operators come in, they're able to reinvest and really fix this deferred maintenance and all of that that's really needed. But it's a great time right now to get into manufactured housing. There's big names like Blackstone, Carlyle Group,
Yes.
Apollo that are, big private equity groups that are getting into the space and investing in improving communities. And there's a lot of new money, improving these assets that otherwise might have been redeveloped, like I was mentioning earlier, into a higher and better land use because the mobile home park, it wasn't the best use in some of these more urban areas. So I think that's important. The financing through the government agency lenders like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac has been huge for the industry. But I think it all boils down to these mom and pop owners that are retiring. There's an opportunity here to invest in affordable housing and keep it that way, because in these markets we invest in, it doesn't make sense for a developer to come in and build affordable housing. If a developer is going to come in, they're going to build towards the high end. And I think that the entry level housing gets overlooked, and manufactured housing is able to solve that. And the stigma is different in the Midwest as well compared to the Southeast, where in the Midwest, it's more blue collar. It's people are getting up and going to work in the mornings, and it's not, people on Social Security kind of, just taking advantage of a low income housing situation.
Sure. No, you've added so many great nuggets. Any business book or personal development book you're reading or you'd like to share with the audience? And before we go, how can they reach you also? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a couple. I found this new podcast called the Founders Podcast, where the host basically reads autobiographies. He read a 700-page autobiography on Winston Churchill and some other big ones on just top entrepreneurs and athletes like Michael Jordan, and debriefs those. And that's just been amazing for me to
Founders podcast, Founders
podcast. Yeah. And then I'm a big Robert Kiyosaki fan, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, getting out of the rat race, right? And
totally.
Even have his board game that I play, probably every couple of weeks with my kids. And, getting out of the rat race, I think is just such a great concept that is easy to understand.
So true. And how can people reach you? Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, the best way to reach me would be via our website. It's just keelteam.com. That's just KEELTEAM. And you could just go to the contact page and reach out there.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for spending time with me. Very good success to you. You have done so well. I know it's going to go higher and higher. And God bless you and your team. And, let's make a big difference in the housing market, which we definitely need in USA and across the world. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Vinny.
Yeah, thank you.